you want to keep in mind how many that we are reading. And so your ability to catch our attention is within the first paragraph. And so personal statements, sort of, I categorize them as, there's ones that are like, oh, that's really interesting and that's compelling. And then most of them are in this middle category of, it doesn't really help you that much, it doesn't really hurt you that much. And a lot of them do say, I really think being neurosurgeon is really cool, and I really enjoyed it, and it was so amazing to watch neurosurgery. And that is the bulk of the statements, to some extent. And then there's a very small number of people that say very strange things that it hurts them, And so I would say, like, you have an ability to distinguish yourself. You have an ability to say something wrong, I guess, or just odd. And most people fall in the middle. And so I think one of the points of this is, how do you make that statement so that you grab us in the first paragraph? Because you really, truly do have to grab us in the first paragraph and say something different than what everybody else is saying. Now, Katie, what do you read it a lot too, because we make our residents read them too.
I totally agree. When I was going through the process, I had a meeting with my chair just to talk about it. And he said kind of the same thing Dr. Spader said. There's 90% of personal statements that are fine. They're just fine. They like say something about you and they're technically personal, but they're like everybody else's. And then there's 5% that are like amazing, like that really stands out. And like, I want to hear more from this person, and then 5% that are super weird. So I think that should maybe make you a little bit more relieved, because it's okay to be in that 90% as long as you like have proper grammar and use appropriate words and you don't say anything super crazy. But if you are really striving to be in that top 5%, I would have a couple different kinds of personal statements. So you can write that, like, I was in my 3rd year of medical school and saw the school surgery, and that inspired me to do it. Or I had a family member that had XYZ neurosurgery disease, blah, blah, blah. And like have that like strong, but maybe similar to other people's personal statement. And then like try to write a weird one. Try to be like, if you took AP English, like your English teacher who was like, add weird words or add different pentameter or something creative, and just have a couple different options, and then pull your friends, pull your chair. Like the department leaders at your school should be on your side. So they should be willing to maybe think about who you're actually going to give that to. But you should have people in your department that will be willing to help. I know that the residents at my program are happy to do that for our students too. So consider a couple options and having people read them and give advice.
I think the other thing to remember is, sometimes you're young and you actually don't have a lot of life experience, and you're like, I just don't have that much to say. Like, I've worked really hard. I really liked my rotations, and my life up to this point has been relatively boring. And that's actually okay too. I mean, only because it's not necessarily going to hurt you to write, I'm just really dedicated, I work really hard, and this is why I want to do it. So don't think that you have to pour so much energy into it. There are people that have very compelling stories that are very interesting, but not everybody has that. But that doesn't mean that they won't be amazing neurosurgeons.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all's insight. And so that kind of leads up to our next or our follow-up question, which is, what advice do you have for making a personal statement stand out?
I really think that if you go back to like your English writing 101 classes, it is the first paragraph, and generally speaking, having a quote or something that catches people does make a difference. But you have to rip people in the first sentence or two.
I think that this whole process is you kind of selling yourself as an asset to the program and something that will benefit the co-residents and the attendings and make you very unique. And so I think that using your personal statement to start telling a story is helpful too. Like, for example, for mine, I did about 16 years of classical ballet. So I used my personal statement, like started by describing a stage and all the different parts that work together to be a ballerina, which has nothing to do with neurosurgery unless you spin it that way. So find something unique, something that you're passionate about, that you can write eloquently about, that is unique, if you have that. And like through all of my interviews, I was the ballerina. Like, oh, I remember you wrote about ballet. Nothing to do about neurosurgery. Tells them nothing about my like intellectual prowess or anything, but it did make them remember me. So if you have something like that, use it to your advantage.
For sure. Thank you guys so much.